Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, turnable ages, you are listening live to episode number 55 of All Things Cleveland Cavaliers, the 6-1 Cleveland Cavaliers. As always, the general manager of Believe Win Media LLC, Brandon Lewis, alongside the vice president of Believe Win Media LLC, Joey Schneider. Joey, last week we did end up going 4-0.
Brandon, we said that they were going to be 3-1. We we said they were going to lose one game to Boston. The Cavs are like, you know what? No, we watch ATC. We don't appreciate saying we're going to go 3-1. And they went out and they took 4 games in a week. They are 6-1 right now. One of the top 3 teams in the NBA early in the season, very early in the season. But it is something to be very excited about. And we have a lot to cover today because there are a lot of thoughts racing through my mind about everything that has gone on. Last night, big win in overtime against the Celtics to take 2 from the reigning Eastern Conference champions. And Darius Garland's first game back since almost getting his eye poked out in the first game against the Raptors, and he looked absolutely phenomenal. But Brandon, let's start at the beginning. First game on the stand was, I believe, against the Celtics, correct?
No, it was against the Magic.
Against the Magic.
The Magic, yeah.
So the one thing that I have somewhat noticed, and other people have said this as well, I feel that there are times where the Cavs thus far have played to the same level as the team that they're playing.
Okay.
The Magic have a very unique roster in that they're all ridiculously tall, but they're not a good team. And I felt like the Cavs played down to their level too much, messed around a little bit, and then obviously, came out in the end. But they just have so much talent on this team that they need to figure out, okay, look, we are better than this team and we need to figure out how to run away with it. Now, obviously, any team can beat any other team on any given night. They're all NBA players for a reason. But that Orlando game was just, it was the first time in the season that I went, they're playing down to another team's level. And, but I mean, God, Donovan Mitchell was just dynamite in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the scariest thing about this Cavs team, and we kind of saw it against Orlando, and then a little bit against the Knicks, who are also an inferior team on Sunday, is that this team, they do get off to a little bit of a slow start. We've seen that, in multiple, probably at least 5 out of the 7 games that they played this season were really, the first 6 minutes, the first quarter, they sometimes struggle, especially defensively. I think the Cavs coming into last night against Boston were rated, 21st defensively in the first quarter. And by the time the fourth quarter comes, they're still top 5 in the National Basketball Association. So I don't know if it necessarily is, exactly playing down to their competition, or if it's just figuring out how are we going to attack this team this game, because once they kind of come out of the locker room in the second half, again, I don't know if it's JB Bickerstaff wanting a fire into them, which we heard or reports about against Orlando at halftime, or whether it's strategic adjustments, but they do look like from time to time a completely different team from half one to half two.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there were reports that they were screaming in the locker room, and and they did end up winning that game by 11, but they came on very strong at the end. But this Cavs team is just, they're built differently than they were last year. Mm-hmm. And something before we get into the first Boston game, something that we need to talk about. Donovan Mitchell was phenomenal in Utah, but I don't know if anyone expected him to have an impact on this Cavs team like he has had in these first 7 games.
I will tell you why I haven't.
He is absolutely a bona fide star. I said, we said this at the beginning of the season, because I've seen Donovan Mitchell play in Utah and he was great, but Donovan Mitchell also had Mike Conley, a very good veteran
Yep.
point guard. He had a good bench there as well. He had Rudy Gobert. So seeing him on this Cavs team and seeing how much fun he's having and
Mhm.
seeing him with the team he has, with Garland, last night, and Love and Levert. We'll get into that in a minute. But Donovan Mitchell has been not only as advertised, but even better than advertised. And I think that Utah's doing well out
Yep.
in the Western Conference. They're 6-3. Um, Laurie Markkinen is having a phenomenal season thus far. So and I love Laurie. So big shout out to Laurie Markkinen. Happy for him that he's doing well out in Utah. But man, I think that Donovan Mitchell has been worth every penny.
No,
Uh,
I absolutely agree. We talked about this. Obviously all off season. Yes, the Cavs gave up some young pieces, but it was totally worth it to go out and get a star/superstar type player in Donovan Mitchell. And you are right. Maybe it's because Donovan Mitchell was on the West Coast, and we out here on the East Coast didn't get a chance to really watch every single dribble of Utah basketball over the last 4 or 5 years he was there. But Donovan Mitchell is a sensational player. I hate to say it, but he is better than I thought he would be. I thought it would be a little bit of a slow transition with him trying to figure out his new teammates and his skill set and how to fit in, with the Cavs system. But offensively, defensively, scoring, his passing, his ability to drop, 6, 7, 8, 9 assists tonight. I didn't know, I guess how well he would play at the point guard position while Garland was out with that eye injury, and he kind of just carried it over from the 2 to the 1 and played seamlessly. It was almost like, you didn't miss DG at times because Donovan Mitchell was doing it away what DG did last year. I mean, it is just, it's phenomenal how good he is. It's phenomenal how good he's made this Cavs team. We talked about the Cavs entering last night, and they still are the number one team in 3-point percentage in the league. That's part of Donovan Mitchell because he's knocking down all those shots and giving other people opportunities to knock down shots. We said all last year the Cavs were 22nd in scoring. They are now in the top 5 in scoring. Mitchell has a lot to do with it. And the Cavs, as I've said here multiple times already today, they can win with defense, but now they can win with offense. And you really don't know who the outer guard on this team.
exactly. And the one thing that you left out there is they're top 3 in defense
Yep.
too. So I mean, this is a very, very complete team. And Boston, who is a really good team, first game we played against them, went into overtime. But oh my God, Karis
Karis
LeVert,
LeVert.
41 points, and also 41 points from Donovan Mitchell. But what a game for Karis LeVert! 41 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. He was absolutely unconscious that game, out of his mind. Put the team on his shoulders along with Mitchell and said, "We are not losing this game. This is the Karis LeVert that we traded for last year." He said that he just recently said that him and Kevin Love has said the exact same thing, which is they're in the best shape of their life,
Yep.
and they feel as good as they've ever felt before. And you can see on the floor, even in games where LeVert doesn't seem like he's doing a whole lot of scoring, and we'll get into that too. He's doing all the other things. He's rebounding, he's assisting, he's able to handle the ball. So I'm not concerned, if Mitchell gets double teamed or if Garland gets double teamed,
Yep.
and LeVert's on the floor, you can pass it to LeVert. LeVert can get to the rim. The only thing that I would say about LeVert, other than this 41-point game, is when he gets to the basket, I'd like to see him throw it down a little
Yes,
more.
I agree.
He tries too many layups among the trees, and,
Yep.
and they get blocked, and he's athletic enough where he can jam it down. But LeVert has been a big piece to this team this year as well. And that Boston game, we went into TD Garden and ended up coming out with that win, 132-123 in overtime. So we took that first one and we felt phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was 2 games, right? I think at that point that was 4 games in a row for us,
Yep.
and going up against the Eastern Conference champions, 2 players with over 40 points, which is the first time that has happened
Since LeBron and Kyrie.
since LeBron and Kyrie
Game
in the
5, 2016 NBA
2016
Finals.
finals. That's
Now,
right.
the thing about that first Boston game that I thought was even more impressive than obviously Levert and Mitchell both going for 41 points apiece. But in that game in the first half, the Cavs did not come out. They did not play defense. I mean,
No,
they gave up 75 points in the first half. You kind of felt like Boston had control of that ball game. At least I did, and it kind of felt like at halftime Boston was going to maybe escape with somewhere between a 10 and a 15-point win. But even though the Cavs needed overtime, they got back in the ball game. And again, in the first 2 quarters of the game, they gave up 75 points. In the last 3 quarters of the game, they give up 48 points. That is how you get back in a basketball game. And again, the Cavs have had streaks this year where it seems like at times they have sort of let opponents go on, these huge 8-0, 10-0, 12-0 runs to where either opponents are extending the lead or getting back in the ball game. But then late in the ball game when the Cavs really need it, they could create multiple 2, 3, 4 straight defensive stops to get them back in the ball game and to get them out and running in transition. And one more thing on Karis LeVert, because I know I was one of them Cavs fans. There was a lot of Cavs fans that after last season put Karis LeVert essentially in the doghouse. They said the trade was not worth it. They said he did not fit the Cavs culture. And I am here to say that I was wrong. I think that Karis LeVert deal now looks a lot better. Obviously, now that he is healthy, because I think the reports now that he was not healthy at the end of last year makes a little bit more sense. When you see what he has done, again, whether he's putting up 41 points or not, defensively, he has been a really good on-ball defender. He is getting steals. He is getting rebounds. He is getting assists. And part of the reason why he's not scoring as much is because on some nights, you'll have Jetty Osman get hot and go for 15 or 16. Some nights you'll have Kevin Love go for 15 or 16. It's not every night, but when you need Karis LeVert to get a bucket, Karis LeVert has had the ability for years. We saw it for years when he was in Brooklyn, constantly putting up, 20 to 25 points a ball game. And if this is the type of player that the Cavs got in that deal, this would be, in my opinion, we talked about it all offseason, really with Okoro's breakout in scoring. Well, if LeVert is that guy, if he can break out in the scoring department, how the heck are you going to stop Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and LeVert, giving you all production on both ends of the court? The Cavs are one of the best teams in basketball, and LeVert's a big reason for that.
yeah, and kind of segueing into what you just said, anyone can beat you on this Cavs team, even coming off the bench.
Yep.
And that we're moving on to this Knicks game. The Cavs, the Knicks were staying with the Cavs. The Cavs were in control of this game for pretty much the entire game, and then they just went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you still Darius Garland, 38 points, 12 assists. Darius Garland is going to get Darius Garland numbers, and it doesn't matter how many All-Stars on a team he has. He has proven these first 7 games that he is a man among men. But you had Dean Wade with a career high 22 points, along with 4 boards, 3 assists. He was 6 for 8 from 3. He is extremely active. He needs to do. I think he needs to work a little bit on his defense. They had him guarding Tatum last night, and I did not like that at all. And there was a few times where it showed off. But he's a capable defender that I think just needs to work a little more. But my God, when you need him to really get going, he can. And that was a huge boost for the Cavs in that Knicks game, because the Knicks are not that bad this year. They're 3-3 right now. Jalen Brunson's playing well. RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. They don't have any superstars on that team, but that's a team that could be, fairly well built within the next, maybe 2 to 3 years. And I know that they got a bunch of picks this year as well. But then you had Kevin Love off of the bench, 29 points, 8 boards, 8 for 13 from three. Donovan Mitchell was 8 for 13 from three. I believe it was the first time
Yep.
in
I
NBA
believe you're right too.
history that two teammates hit 8 threes in the same game,
Well, again, last year it was a big
eight
difference
or
for the
more
Cavs.
threes.
Last year the Cavs they really struggled shooting the ball from deep, and I have been saying for years now that the NBA, all like other sports kind of now as we head into the 21st century in the 2020s and 2010s, if you will, sports has kind of modernized. We've seen a lot of modern concepts come into different types of sports. In basketball, the modern concept is you have to be able to shoot from behind the arc well as a basketball team. And that is one thing the Cavs did not do well last year. And this year, they're big men. You mentioned it, Kevin Love, Dean Wade, Donovan Mitchell, another 8 threes. They are the best shooting 3-point team in the NBA. And it is a stark difference from what they had last year. And Dean Wade, I kind of feel like Dean Wade is almost the Swiss Army knife of this team. Some nights he can give you 20 points. Some nights he will play big minutes, 30, 35, 40 minutes. Other nights he may only give you 4 points and he may play 15 minutes, but he could play, 35 minutes as well. But whenever he's out there, he competes and he works on the defensive end. I know he's not a great defender, but it almost feels like at times when you need to stop, Dean Wade will get a tip, or he
Yes.
will get test the ball, or
Yes.
he will make a free to make the play in the game that will get either a Love or a Mitchell or a Levert going.
Let me rephrase what I meant. Dean Wade, like you said, he'll get a hand on the ball. He's really relentless on
He
trying to get the
never gives
rebounds.
up on any play.
Right, but I would not have Dean Wade guarding Jason Tatum in the
Well,
playoffs.
no.
So, and that they had him guarding Jason Tatum last night, and there was a lot of plays where Tatum went right by him, and I was just thinking to myself, like, why do you have? But I mean, really, that's probably your best option unless you're going to bring Okoro in.
Yeah.
And let's face it, Okoro has been absolutely. And you know what, our first week, there was no criticism. But Okoro's offense almost looks like it's taken a step back so far in these first 7 games. His defense is still there. His motor's still there. But I don't care if he hits 1,000 out of 1,000 threes in practice. If it's not,
Yeah.
during a
No,
game
yeah.
when it matters, it doesn't mean anything.
And it almost and knock on my wooden desk here. It almost scares me if a Levert or God bless a Mitchell, if somebody goes down on this team, Dean Wade, if something happens and Okoro has to play more minutes and he cannot constantly make down shots, that scares me.
Well, I think our bench is so deep though that I mean you would have to have a lot of players go down for that to be a
my question is, I guess then, how patient can the Cavs be with Okoro? This is his third year in the league, and offensively, at least in my opinion, he has shown no progression year to year to year in that category. And I said it last year. I'm sorry, as a 6'5" wing guard, whatever you want to call, I don't care how great defensively you are. You have to be able to make buckets from outside the paint in today's league.
I don't even think, if I'm being honest, I don't think you need to be. You could be a great player without shooting a three. He can stand in the corner and cut. He can get to the rim, and when he does, he's got such crazy athleticism that he can almost hop over anybody and throw it down. If that's what it takes, then I will 100% take that. Great D and the ability to get to the rim. You don't need to hit the three. You got other players on the team for that. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, you go and you look up and down the Cavs roster right now. Like you said, we're number 1 in the league in 3-point percentage. But I mean, Garland, Mitchell, Levert, Dean Wade, Kevin Love, Osman. Um, if you really need to,
Yeah.
Mobley can hit the three. So there's so many 3-point shooters on this team that I don't think that Okoro really he doesn't need to shoot threes. He needs to slash to the hoop. If Isaac Okoro could get to the rim like Karis LeVert, I think Okoro would average like 16
Yeah.
points a game.
No, I completely agree. I guess my question that is like, does he not want, I don't want to say want, but does he not, care about offensively? Is his game kind of more defensive? And then, we'll see if the opportunity presents itself to give some offensive buckets. I'm not saying shoot a three, but like, the mid-range game coming off screens or driving to the basket, I think Okoro could be a real asset in that. But when he comes into the game now, it's like if he shoots the ball, you're almost blinking because you don't expect him. It's like he's out there for defense only.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We heard so much stuff during the off season, and obviously, it hasn't translated to the court. Maybe we'll be singing a different tune next week. Who knows? Maybe he's going to go off for a ton of points. I'm not going to be too hard on the kid like we were last year. Early in the season. But if he doesn't pick it up here in the next, I'm going to say month, with the minutes he has, because let's face it, he saw these first 7 games might be a little bit of a shell shock to him because he saw a lot of minutes last year
Yeah.
compared to what he has seen thus far this year. But I do want to talk about last night's Celtics game
Yep.
because that was, oh my God. I was sitting down, I was standing up, I was kneeling, praying to God, like, come on, like give
Joey,
us
it's a
this.
regular season game, man.
I don't care. Every game counts, man. I do not, hey, last year, every game mattered.
Really
One or two games that would have, maybe 3 games that would have went the Cavs' way. Cavs would have been in the playoffs.
But as we
But they,
talked about, do the Cavs get Donovan Mitchell if they're in the playoffs?
okay, I mean, I understand that, but I mean, you're not gonna this year. It's not like you're gonna go and get
No,
Kevin Durant in the
no, I
offseason.
agree. And obviously,
Or I'm sorry,
and obviously, 2 wins against Boston is big when it will come down to the standings at the end of the year. And we don't see Boston again till the first week of March. So just think about, how these two teams are going to meet on a collision course. I believe it's March 1st in the TD Garden, but I could be wrong on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and by the way, who says we don't get Donovan Mitchell? We still give up the picks, and maybe we just would have put
Well,
Okoro in
no,
the deal.
you would have not add the Cavs, I should say, first round pick because we got it back from
No,
Indiana
no,
because we didn't make the playoffs.
right, but they could have added a first round pick either later on or put Okoro in the deal.
All right,
I mean,
well,
there's
that's fair.
but
Anyway, back to last night.
yeah,
Um,
last night was Darius Garland's first game back since getting his eye gouged out against Toronto in the first in the was it second quarter or first quarter?
it was the second quarter of the
In
first
the
game.
second quarter. And man, did I think that was a dirty foul. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think he meant it. Actually, I shouldn't say it's dirty. I didn't think he meant it, but it was a pretty gruesome. I mean, you can
Yes.
see last night from the start of the game to the end of the game, his eye would really started to swell up even more.
Yeah,
And you could
well,
you could see him trying to open his eye and
he didn't really care because he went off in the first quarter. Obviously,
oh yeah.
dropping those free straight threes. Some of those were really long, and then again, this game was sort of the Cavs formula for how they have sort of won games this year. Where second quarter they went on a really cold streak. Nobody could hit a shot. They only shot one free throw attempt in the second quarter. One assist by Garland. Garland went from having, I believe it was 14 or 15 in the first, or only having one free pointer in the second. And then the second half, Boston came out. They got up to that little bit of run. They went up by about 12, I believe. And then boom, here came the Cavs. And it was led by defense. It was led by great assisting from Garland and Mitchell to guys like Mobley and Jared Allen, who were cutting at the rim, getting baskets. And their defense, leading in an easy transition offensive basket opportunities, set the stage for a tie game going into the fourth quarter, I believe. Obviously, Boston came out with that early run again in the fourth quarter. And then after that, the Cavs came back. I mean, as basketball always is, it is a game of runs, but it really did feel like last night, even though it was what, only November 2nd, 2022, it was a playoff like atmosphere intensity at Morgan Fieldhouse.
Yeah, it was that crowd was electric when every time the Cavs needed to come back, it was chanting defense. It was going nuts when they were scoring a bucket. Even when Boston would go on a run, they never gave up on the Cavs. And I think that's a testament to this Cavs team because they know that this team can score, they can make the stops and they can score buckets and bunches. But last night's game was really a game of the starters. Our bench struggled pretty mightily. We only had 16 bench points last night. Kevin Love 0 for 5 from 3, Dean Wade 0 for 3, Chetty Osman 0 for 3. I mean, it was rough for the bench last night, but our starters, Darius Garland, first game back, 29 points, 12 assists, 5 rebounds. Jared Allen doing Jared Allen things, 14 points, 14 boards. Evan Mobley got in foul trouble. He barely played that first half, but he ended up with 15 points, 7 boards, 2 assists. Karis LeVert, 15 points, 8 boards, 4 assists. And Donovan Mitchell coming on so strong at the end, 25 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 blocks,
I believe he scored the Cavs the last 10 points, I believe. So something like that, 8, 10 points.
No, I think Garland got in there too.
Okay.
Um, I think Mobley maybe even
because I know at one point late, I know Mitchell had at 8 straight.
Yeah, he had. I think that was the end of the towards the end of the game, and
Yeah.
maybe the first shot into overtime. But my God, I mean, and you know what? And sometimes that's how you're going to win games. And a lot of people said this, and even a lot of people from Believeland talked about this, or at least said it, but we get to talk about it because we get to have the fun. This is a team. Garland was, always a part of the plan from the first game. That plan, obviously, he got hurt, and then they had to go to Plan B. Donovan Mitchell running the offense. Everything was fine. Last night, they didn't seem like they were on the same page. Some of the game, but I saw enough to know that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland is going to be a absolute force.
Oh yeah,
of a backcourt.
I mean, Garland and Mitchell pretty much equaled Tatum and Brown's production last night,
I think it might have been even more.
They might have even surpassed it. You're right, which is what you will need when it comes time to play these big teams in the Eastern Conference playoffs. And I think this team, I think they got it together over midway through the third quarter after about a quarter and a half of struggles, and then you could just see, defensively, offensively, fighting back and forth. And the one thing I like about this team, they remind me of a team that just, no matter what the score is in the game, they are confident they're going to get it going. They're confident they can get stops in the defensive end. They're confident they can score in the offensive end, and they know they can play with anybody in the league. They don't feel like a team that's just, full of 22 and 23 and 24-year-olds trying to find their legs. They feel like a team that we talked about all offseason. They feel like a team that wants to prove night in and night out when you step on the floor with the Cavs, whether it is at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse or whether it is on the road, you are going to get a tour de force, and this team has the capability to play defense and be in a 93-90 type ball game. But they also, I believe this year, we've seen it now, have the capability to go win that 120-110 game that they could not win last year.
Absolutely. This team reminds me of another Cleveland team, the Cleveland Guardians.
I was just about to say that.
It's a team that no matter how much they're down, it just seems like you can never count them out because You never know when they're going to heat up. They get 3, 4 stops, come down the court and drill, 3, 4 threes, and being down 15. Now they're down 3 with 2 minutes left, and they're going to come back. Just like you had to watch every Guardians game to the very last out
Yep.
because you never knew if they were going to come
It's
back.
young, gritty, tough. And sometimes when you're young, and I can speak to this obviously because I'm young, you don't
Oh,
know.
what a shot!
You don't know your true potential. Sometimes you're just stupid and you just go there like, oh, I can do this. Let's see what happens. And I think that that's what this team is doing. I didn't mean to take a shot at you.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
we're gonna fight as soon as this podcast
Oh
is
yeah, we
over.
are. Hey, listen, I'm just saying. Sometimes man, I'm just trying to make it for this world, man. I'm like a puppy, just floating around in space, and sometimes it feels like that's what this gives. I'm like, okay, can we do? Yeah, let's go, guys. It is phenomenal to see this team absolutely go out there and you again. We have confidence now. At least I do. No matter who they are playing, gonna feel like, yeah, you're gonna lose ball games. But could I see the Cavs winning this game? Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I do want to let everyone know if you are over the age of 30, give Brandon a tweet and let him know that over 30 is not old. You know what? I'm gonna ask Kevin Love to tweet at you that over 30 is not old because I got to give credit to Kevin Love, and let me tell you why. And I'll try to be quick. Kevin Love stuck with this team, and he loves the city of Cleveland, but he stuck with this team through the rebuild, got into the best shape of his life, accepted a new role off the bench, and now could potentially be back into a very high playoff seed and maybe even competing for a title again, making as big of a contribution as he did as a starter, but coming off the bench. So I love Kevin Love. We talked about him last year in trade deadlines, and that's business is business. That's the way it is. But man, you have to give all the respect in the world to that guy because there's not many players with his skill set who would have wanted to stay. And even when he was when he was getting hurt, he still had values. He still had value somewhere. They could have probably traded him, but they didn't, and he didn't want to go, and he stuck around, and now he gets to reap the rewards.
How many times did I say last year, back in my radio days when I would host my own weekly radio show, I would go on the microphone and I would scream to Kevin Love, ask for a trade. These Cavs are going absolutely nowhere. You're throwing the ball into the stands. You look like you don't care. Like Evan, I gave you up Cleveland, but we're going to be terrible for the next couple of years. It's okay. You can ask for a trade, go for a contender. And now I look like an idiot. Kevin Love looks like Albert Einstein out here being being a genius. And it's unbelievable what this team has done in the last 2 years.
Oh my god! You know what? One more in the Celtics game last night for all of you who saw it and those of you who didn't. Kevin Love got fouled while dunking the basketball,
Yes.
and when he threw down that dunk, me and Robin Lopez had the exact same look on our face. Like, did that just happen? Like,
Yep.
Kevin Love is having so much fun. This entire Cavs team is having so much fun. I mean, he went over to the bench and started high-fiving the bench after he dunked the ball. He got fouled on it, had the three-point play. But if you guys would have seen the look on Robin Lopez's face, like, oh, you can still dunk like that, old man. Like, I thought it was absolutely hilarious because and this team is they're having fun. They're having fun with each other. They know that they're good. They know what everyone can do. You could see how excited was Mitchell to have Garland
Oh
back
my
last night.
goodness.
How excited was Garland when Kevin Love went off for 29 points. Against the Knicks.
That bench has a very 2016 Cavs vibe. The year the Cavs won the championship, that bench was absolutely nuts. It was almost as nuts as the bench they had in 2009 with Mo Williams and all those guys, and they were doing fake basketball shots during timeouts or baseball, whatever they were doing. These guys are jumping up and down, going crazy every single play.
I think this bench is actually even more fun, and the reason for me is because we had LeBron James. We had the best basketball player on the planet at that time. You expected it from that team. You had Kyrie Irving, who was maybe a top 3 point guard. You had Kevin Love, who, in my opinion, was still a top 10 a power forward, maybe a top 15 player in the league. And then you had JR, you had Shump, you had all the bench
RJ,
players.
Double T,
Yeah,
you had a lot of great role players, a lot of veterans, but completely agree. Yeah, you expected
but
that this
but
team.
this team is so full of youth, and they're gonna be together for a while. I mean, Dean Wade just got a new contract. Neto hasn't even come, or not Neto, Rubio hasn't come
Yeah,
back. When we get Rubio back, I mean, Rubio's he's a little older. I think he's
but
30,
again,
32.
Rubio will help get the young guys in line, especially for a postseason run. He will
Oh,
fit
I mean,
right in.
and he's sitting on the bench there right now. I'm sure she's
Oh,
giving
yeah.
him advice. Even right now, but talking about um the leadership, man, Donovan Mitchell seems like he's been on this team for years. The way that he talks to
And
players, the way he talks to JB Bickerstaff, like it's
and
just
that is the level you need to go from here to here is you need guys that you can
absolutely.
bring in from outside of the organization that you did not draft that already have that experience that can put you over the top. And that's what I believe the Cavs have right now. But will they have more fun? Because they're about to go, Joey, on a 5 game road trip. We're going to cover 4 of those 5 games here today. At least preview them in this podcast. And first up, before we get to the West Coast, the Cavs are on a Motor City detour against the young Detroit Pistons.
The Pistons do not have a great record right now, but they are a dangerous team. Cade Cunningham is playing very good basketball right now. Isaiah Stewart, their center, is playing very well. Jaden Ivey, the rookie,
Yep.
He's flashing moments of greatness. This is a team you got to watch out for. You can't take any team lightly in the NBA.
They just beat down Golden State last week.
Exactly. So you got to come in. Every game is 100 miles an hour. I mean, that's just the way you have to play. If you want to be one of the best teams, you have to play like one of the best teams. You can't take any team lightly. Every team that you are playing, you are going out to win. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a tougher game than most people think. But I think the Cavs come out on top. And I'm going to say it's probably going to be like an Orlando game, and they'll probably win by 11.
Yep, I completely agree with that. I'm going to say about 8 to 10. I'm going to go a little bit smaller than your 11. I think it'll be a close game, about 3-ish quarters. I think the Cavs will pull away a little bit and have a comfortable size margin, if you will, by the end of the game. But then they head out to the West Coast, and they're starting a back-to-back beginning Sunday. It will be early afternoon at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time in Los Angeles, where they take on LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, who's now coming off the bench for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I gotta say, I think the Cavs, they will blow the Lakers out. I think they will absolutely blow the Lakers out. I'm making my biggest score margin prediction of the season at this point. I think the Cavs defeat the Lakers by at least 20.
I think this game is going to be too close. Is going to be a lot closer than you think.
See,
And
I don't. But
I
go ahead.
do because I think that LeBron is going to show up in a way he hasn't shown up in a while, because he doesn't want. I think that he still wants to hold on to this Cavs era just a little, his Cavs era just a little bit longer, and he's going to come out and try and show that that Cleveland is still his town. But I do think the Cavs end up winning. I'm going to say they win by 6. It's
Okay.
going to be a tough game. I don't think Russ shows up, but I think LeBron is going to make the players around him a lot better. Even some of these unknowns and younger guys. So I think it's going to be close, but I still think the Cavs come out on top.
I think LeBron will have a great game. I don't think anybody else for the Lakers will have a good game. I think the Cavs just get out. I think they run. I think they make their shots. I think they play really good defense. I think they force LeBron into some up passes that maybe they can intercept and get out in transition. I just for some reason I don't see the Lakers as a legit threat at all. Nothing has shown me over the last 2 years that they can put together a good game plan. I know Westbrook's had the last couple good games off the bench for them, but I just don't see it. I think the Cavs pick up a big victory. Moving on, then the next night they will take on the Clippers in Los Angeles, a Clippers team that it sounds like they're not going to be without Kawhi Leonard. Not sure about that. Seems like he may have some tendonitis in the knee. I know he's not traveling on the recent road trip. Not sure again if he's going to be available. To me, this is the more tricky game for the Cavs. I think this could be one where we saw last season the Cavs did win the game, but it was certainly more low scoring. I think if Kawhi Leonard were to play, no matter what capacity, the Clippers would have a better chance to win the ball game. I think it's a really tricky one to predict at this point. And listen, the Cavs cannot win forever, but I think this one, because we are in such a good mojo and good vibe right now, I think this is a really close game. I think it comes down to a 3-4 point ball game.
The Clippers are one of those teams that they have so many good, like just like fringe good
Yeah,
players. I use that
I
term a lot. If you guys have
no,
listened to me,
no, it's
you know,
accurate, and you
Norman,
never really know what you're going to get from them any night.
exactly. But I just think that a team like the Clippers right now, who don't have all their pieces, and even like you said, even if Kawhi does play, he's probably going to be on a minutes restriction. Uh, you know, I can't see, and even if he's not, I can't see the Cavs, the way that they're playing right now, losing to the Clippers. It's like you said. I think it is going to be a close game again. And I think a lot of it depends on the Lakers game as well. How hard, how difficult is that going to be?
Yeah,
Because hey, you know what,
that's a good point. Coming
the
off a
Cavs
back to back.
the Cavs have played 7 games this year, 3 of which have already gone into overtime.
Yeah, no, that's a good
So
point.
they're already putting some extra mile. They're already putting some extra miles on the tires here. They need a couple of blowouts to to get some rest. But I think that it is a close game. I think that Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland learning to gel together. Maybe the next game or two. I still think they're going to pull those games out. But once they make it work, it's going to be really hard to stop them, along with Mobley and Allen and LeVert and the bench. So I'm going to go Cavs again. I say maybe 3-4 points.
And then the last game, Cavs are taking on our old friend, former head coach Mike Brown, and the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento, and probably one of the worst places to play in the NBA. Whatever, the Kings should move. That's not the here nor there. What is the here nor there is I think the Cavs take care of business. I think that they know that they will have a tough game against Golden State that we'll preview next week. That's going to happen on Friday. I just think they're just better than the Kings. Could they play down to their competition a little bit in the first half like they have a couple times? Sure. But I think by the end, again, 11, 15 point margin, somewhere around there, I think the Cavs take care of business.
Yeah, the Kings have a couple of really good players in Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, but I think that they're mismanaging their bench a whole
Yep.
lot, and you know I I just think the Cavs are gonna they're
Yeah,
gonna take care of business.
I think the Cavs again. You're right. The Kings have some talent, but I think in terms of overall team, the Cavs just have better talent. They should be able to take advantage. And you know what? I know potentially the Lakers game. You could be right. I could be right. But again, 2-2, 3-1. I really think 3-1's a realistic. So is 4-0. But I think this team, there's something about this team that I just like right now where I'm going to say until they lose, I don't really want to pick them to lose.
Yeah, I mean, and even going 3-1, I don't think I think that one game is going to be it might just be a game where they're really tired.
Yeah, I
I
think one of those LA games kind of feels a little tricky to me. Maybe Detroit, maybe Detroit gives them the Pistons seem like they always play the Cavs tough. no matter how good they are,
Always.
no matter how.
Yeah.
So the Pistons always just seem like that they come ready. Obviously, they have a good young team over there, but we're seeing, the Cavs are seeing a lot of these young teams and kind of what the Cavs were maybe 2, 3 years ago. But now the Cavs have the talent where I feel like with that addition of Mitchell, with Garland growing up, and Mobley and Allen, and we didn't really talk about it a lot today, but imagine when Evan Mobley finally gets going. He hasn't really had the star-studded outing. We've seen him kind of just be consistent, especially last night in the second half. When this team really starts to take off, I think you will see it because I don't think the Cavs have really played a complete half of basketball yet this year.
No, and me and you talked about it a little bit before we came on. I don't think Evan Mobley has played. I don't think he's probably played 60% of his best
And
basketball.
I agree with
I,
that.
I think they, when he's going, when he's at 100%, go. I mean, he's healthy. Obviously, I don't mean 100% healthy. I mean when he's playing at 100% of what he can do. You're talking about a kid who's gonna be averaging 20, 25 points and 12 boards and 3, 4 blocks. I think that right now they're still figuring things out, and they're a 6-1 NBA team, still figuring things out. But it's just so much talent all over this roster. Me and you preached it from the rooftops all preseason, even before then, that this team has so much depth, and we're seeing it now. I don't want to say that we were right, but we were 100% right. So
And Joey, by next week, for the first time in the 2 year history of ATC, if the Milwaukee Bucks lose a game and the Cavs go 4-0, at the very least, the Cavs could potentially be, we can mark it down at this point in the season, the number one seed in the Eastern Conference.
oh my God, that would be. It's early in the season. I don't want to get too excited because
It's
we
early,
know
but you can
we
just
know what
make a
happened.
note on the record. The Cavs, for the first time in a very long time, are the number one seed. They are a legit playoff/championship contender. We will be here, obviously, throughout the rest of the season. Can't wait to break down the West Coast Strip with you, Joey, next week. And I'm going to let you have the last words before we let them know what's up.
You know what? If you guys have not had a chance, myself and Brandon Lewis, and Brandon has covered a lot more games than I have so far this year, but check out our recaps after every single Cavs game. They are up almost immediately. We recap the games, some of our thoughts, who our players of the games are. Uh, we really hope you guys enjoy them. Check them out. Brandon, it's a pleasure. 6-1. I mean, we knew they were going to be good, but this feels like something special brewing. Big shout out to Melanie Kirby, host of the Guardians of the CLE, on her 50th episode. Go and check it out. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Guardians of the CLE. Brandon, one thing left to do, and I'm going to steal it from you because we're 6-1, buddy. Let them know.